My name is Daniel Duford. I'm the co-curator of Intersecciones Havana to Portland, which is a show of 6 Cuban artists at Lewis and Clark College. This whole thing started when my co-curators and I wanted to do a show of contemporary Cuban artists. And at the time when we started, my whole idea of Cuba was new cigars, old cars, cigars, and mojitos, the Buena Vista Social Club, and Che Guevara, the guy from Urban Outfitters. So Havana had this real whiff of illegal exoticism. And so when we started the thing, we didn't realize that President Obama was planning to open up relations with Cuba. And suddenly, when we were doing this show, the whole idea of Cuba as this thing that is behind the times was no longer, didn't work anymore. So this is a piece by Rafael Villares, who is one of the artists of the show. And the history and politics is very heavy on Cuban artists. And the artists that we actually met in Havana really bristle under the weight of this idea of Cubanismo. But I have to tell you, being there, no one is waiting for capitalism to save them, nor do they want the revolution to remain unchanged completely. So this is Havana from our apartment. And it's a small city, but it cradles a lot of history and expectation. And American ideas about a Cuba frozen in time don't play out. This is both incredibly worldly and intimately local. It's full of paradoxes. Wi-Fi, or Wi-Fi as it's called, is scarce as are raw materials. It's hard not to lean on preconceptions of tropical fetish with buildings like this one that you see here. But because we did 16 studio visits all over the city in just 6 days, we got to know actual Cubans in their home. And the paradoxes are clear once you get to know the city a little. Vibrancy and decay exist side by side. Artists do much better financially than doctors or computer programmers. And that's because Cuban artists are very hot in the world market. They have money coming in. Doctors, professionals have to rely on their average monthly salary of $18 thereabout. But there's a payoff. In the US, artists are free to do whatever they want, but nobody cares. And in Cuba, artists are well supported, but must tread very carefully. This is actually Jose Marti, the patron saint of the revolution. So artists everywhere, whatever culture they come from, have to make work out of the context from which they come. But contemporary art acts as if it's contextless. It doesn't have borders. This is the work of Rainier El Chino Novo. There's a piece called The Scent of War. Novo is one of the artists. He's typical of his generation of artists, that the weight of the revolution is not so much crushing, but that the political rhetoric from inside and outside the country are just completely rotted out. And raw materials are very difficult for artists in Havana. This is Yornel Martinez. He really gets at that make-do intellectualism of Cuban art. His work is based in poetry, and he expresses these ideas through common materials. These books or revistas are made from old Portland cement bags that are ironed and then bound, and he gives them to other artists to fill. Intersecciones is meant to be an exchange between Havana and Portland. The goal is to have all 6 artists come to Portland. This is Adriana Arante, who already was here in November. And then they're going to make work on site. So she was working in Portland at the Reed Ceramics Studio because she doesn't have access to a kiln that fires that hot. And this is the first object lesson of the show. What she wanted to make and what I thought she wanted to make were 2 different things. So we didn't have the technical capability to cast what she wanted when she came here. So I threw the vase, the form, and then she made the bees. And then she went up to Tacoma to the Glass Museum to do a week-long residency. And that's a piece that she made there. And these glasses will actually be available to drink out of at the show and at the Hoffman Gallery. And also the image on there is, those are pollinators that go from Havana to the mainland. So this is Susana de la Hante Matienzo. She's reprising a piece that she did at the Havana Biennial called We Bring It Curly, which this is the English version of it. Susana is Afro-Cuban, and her work is about blackness in Cuba and Cuban culture. So we thought that bringing this to the whitest city of America would be the perfect stage to contest. So it's a hair contest for women with African hair, and she almost didn't make it because she didn't get her visa at first, and then she had to reapply. We didn't know until November that she was actually coming, and so the contest is happening, but we're not sure exactly when. The details are in flux. So when you have 6 artists, you have 6 sets of logistics. This is Rafael Villares again. He needed a stump. We're in Stump Town. It's super easy, right? No, it's not. Everyone grinds their stumps, and so we were looking all over the place. Luckily, we found the grounds crew at Lewis & Clark got this stump for us, which was really terrific. But as in everything, you know, Cube is all about improvisation. This is a piece by Yornel Martinez again, where he did these interventions on marquees. We're going to bring that here to Portland. It seemed like a great place. Portland has lots of iconic marquees. Yornel didn't get his visa, so he's not coming, but we're getting his revistas. And finally, this is Elizabeth Cervino, she's a performance artist. She uses simple materials to create her work. All the materials come from the space, and they have resonance historically and politically. I don't know exactly what her performance is going to be, where it's going to be, exactly how it's going to fit, or what kind of documentation she wants. So these are the plans for the Hoffman Gallery. We have to fill the space. And not just fill it, because curation requires a sensitivity to the work so that the work actually has room to breathe and is enlivened by the work around it, despite what other people online say about what curation is. My impressions of that space are as vague about that as it was about Cuba before I went there. So Intersecciones is in a sense, an exchange between these 2 poles of the colonial spectrum. The beginning of the Spanish conquest to the manifest destiny. So I don't know how it's going to end, but come to Hoffman Gallery on January 28th at 5 p.m. and see for yourself. Thank you very much.